The Babylon Project was our last best hope for sci-fi, a self-contained podcast 1 hour long located on the internet, a place of fun and discussion for Babylon 5 fans everywhere, a shining beacon in cyberspace, all alone in the night. It was the dawn of the 20th anniversary of Babylon 5, the year the Great War to free Bab 5 came upon us all. This is the story of the last of the Babylon podcast. The year is 2016. The name of the place is the Babylon Project Podcast.
This is Maggie Egan, your ISN news anchor, and you're listening to the Babylon Project podcast.
Hello there, Babylon 5 fans. This is Raul Wybera, and I am here tonight with my good friend Jim Arrowwood for another exciting, well, actually not exciting, in this case it's more of a chilling episode of the Babylon Project podcast. How are you tonight, Jim?
Chilling episode indeed. I'm great.
Good. Yeah, what episode are we talking about tonight?
Tonight we are going to take a closer look at Comes the Inquisitor.
Yeah, I would say for me this is probably the single creepiest episode of the entire series.
Yeah, I would at this point I would have to agree. Up to this point.
Mm-hmm. And I don't know. I can't think of anything off the top of my head that matches this for sheer creep factor.
Well,
I mean, on a full episode basis, there's a couple of spots that will kind of creep you out on a scene, but...
Well, there is an episode in season 5 that has creepy stuff going on in it, but it's not up to the standard this one has set.
Yeah.
This episode set the bar really high.
This episode was actually, I thought it got some nominations, but it could have easily won. I thought it got a nomination or maybe a win. I don't remember for sure which. Maybe Troy or Mitch could fill us in on some of that details, but I thought it was up for like a cinematography award or something.
Well, I can certainly understand why. It was an amazingly shot episode.
Mm-hmm.
Not a great deal of action.
No.
But it was, yeah, it sure held your attention.
I think the best way, as always, to get a setup for this is go ahead and let us know what the episode sounded like.
Okay.
You've got a synopsis ready for us, sir.
Very well.
Archive. Access. Initiated.
G'Kar organizes a resistance group against the Centauri aboard the station, and with the help of Garibaldi, he arranges to have weapons he has bought shipped to the Narn home world. While the Narn want to support G'Kar, one member of the group wants to be sure that G'Kar is sincere. G'Kar then arranges the delivery of a message to the doubtful member of his group with the help of Sheridan and the Rangers. Kosh summons an Inquisitor to the station to determine whether Delenn is the right ally for the coming war with the forces of darkness. When he arrives, Sebastian, the Inquisitor, explains to Sheridan that he is from London and from the year 1888 before being pressed into service of the Vorlons. Sebastian begins a long period of degradation, taunting, and torture of Delenn that goes on until Sheridan arrives on the scene to try to put a stop to Sebastian's inquisition. Sheridan is subsequently also tortured briefly until Delenn demonstrates that she would be willing to lay down her life to save Sheridan from death. Sebastian then declares that both Sheridan and Delenn are the right people to face the tasks ahead of them in the coming war, and makes ready to depart the station. After a brief investigation, Sheridan learns that Sebastian is indeed from 1888 London and is connected with a series of deaths that stopped when he was taken away by the Vorlons and made to see the error of his ways. He also tells Sheridan that he will always be remembered by the name given him by the London newspapers, which is Jack, implying that he was in reality Jack the Ripper. Well, there it is.
Oh, there it is indeed.
Yeah.
And I know the Jack the Ripper trope is overused in sci-fi, but I can't think of a case where it is used as well, unless it's maybe the old Star Trek episode.
No way. That episode was a good episode. I enjoyed it. It was the 60s. This episode did Jack the Ripper way better. Way better. I mean, almost held it right to the end. But let's not get ahead of ourselves here.
Ask me if I still think that again towards the end.
Okay.
And we'll see.
Character, files, open.
Guest cast. Small guest cast tonight.
Yeah, not a great deal of not a lot of stars, but some good ones though.
Mm-hmm.
We had Wayne Alexander as Sebastian, who appeared in 11 episodes of Babylon 5 in various roles.
One of their favorite guest stars.
And we'll be talking more about him in the future.
Mm-hmm.
He was in Babylon 5 movies, The River of Souls, and A Call to Arms. And he also made an appearance on the 1986 Twilight Zone and was in 3 episodes of X-Files and a whole bunch of other stuff, too.
Yeah. Now, most of his work, I believe, is like stage stuff, because he was primarily a stage actor.
Ah.
That was my understanding. He was more in theater.
I'd say that he was perfect for it, too.
Yeah.
I mean, he knew just how to, when he walked on the scene and that step, clink, I mean,
mm-hmm.
that is totally theater.
Yeah, and that's what made him so perfect for this role. You said he was in 11 episodes.
Yeah.
What was unique about this one episode?
Well, he wasn't in prosthetic makeup, for one thing.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah. This is the only episode where we actually see his face.
Yeah.
Now, of course, the theatrical training, I mean, the theater background of him, when you consider the other roles that he plays, it lends to those interpretations as well.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, Lorien.
Yeah, it's very, very dramatic. Very dramatic.
Mm-hmm.
We also had Jack Keller, I guess you would pronounce it, as Mr. Chase. This was his only appearance on Babylon 5. He did appear on Deep Space Nine as Jahil, and in the episode was called Babel. He was in Waterworld, Invaders in 1995, an appearance in Sliders, and more recently, he appeared in The Man in the High Castle last year.
Okay. Wayne Henderson, I'm so sorry. I still haven't seen Man in the High Castle.
You have Amazon?
Forgive me.
You have Amazon Prime?
Of course.
See it. I binge watched. I watched like 2 or 3 episodes at first, and then Chrissy had an overnight somewhere, and I binge watched the rest of it. It's an amazing story.
It's that good.
It's better than good. It is great. They did an awesome job with that.
And they treat Dick with the appropriate...
You know, I read that story quite a while back.
So long ago.
It definitely has the Philip K. Dick edge to it.
Okay.
So it's going to be impossible to exactly duplicate it, but it's very good.
Of course, that statement there is true of anything that Philip K. Dick's written.
Oh yeah.
So that's that. I mean, there's okay.
This is not a Philip K. Dick podcast.
Nope, because we don't hear the golden pipes of Wayne Henderson with us.
No.
If it was a Philip K. Dick podcast, he'd have to be around.
Oh yeah. He would never forgive us if we didn't include him.
Yep.
All right.
Yep. All right.
Let's launch into this.
Initiating plot analysis.
And a launch-in is a good way to do it because Jakar is standing on the table. I'm thinking, having lived in Southern California, I've actually seen this. You know, your street corner evangelist preaching the end is near. You really will see them there, and that's exactly what Jakar is doing in his way down into the Zocalo.
Yeah.
And he's right. It turns out he is absolutely right. The Centauri aren't going to stop with just Narn.
Well, why would they? You know, they have they've proven that they're willing to go to extraordinary lengths to win.
Yeah, we're not just reclaiming our one little slice of the Slavic region that was traditionally ours.
Mm-hmm.
Veer is on the catwalk above that little bridge catwalk watching the whole thing though.
Yeah.
And he's more than a little upset.
He knows what's happened. He knows how it's happened. And I could even understand him being a little bit ashamed.
Yeah, and he's definitely sympathetic towards Jakar in this regard.
Well, Veer is a diplomat, and no diplomatic solution to this disagreement has been sought.
Right. You know, I wonder, do you think they might be setting up something with Veer's arc in this?
Oh, could be. Could be.
You've got Chekhov's gun, now we've got Chekhov's hair crest.
Yeah, there you go.
There we go.
Chekhov's PPG.
Yep. The other thing that's being set up through this is the second part of this story, which I guess is the main part of the story. It seems that Kosh is a little bit worried about Delenn after all this time. So he's going to turn her over to an Inquisitor.
Yeah, you know, and it's very odd because to me, Kosh has always trusted Delenn, but I guess this is an awful big task.
Uh-huh.
And, you know, it seemed to me that Delenn understood what an Inquisitor is.
Yeah, it seems she, at least what the concept of an Inquisitor is for the Vorlons. I don't think that she knew who or necessarily what to expect, but she understood the concept, certainly. Because she was asking Kosh about how would she recognize him.
Yeah, apparently this has happened at some point in the past for some reason.
Right.
Who knows?
Kosh's words are a good hint of what we're in for. She'll know who, if she survives.
Yeah, that makes one uncomfortable right off the bat.
Like I said, one of the more disturbing episodes.
It is. Yeah.
So Delenn clears this with Sheridan. She wants the guy passed through customs without any questions. And, you know, going with what you said, she's got an idea about what's up, or at least knows about the Inquisitors, because she's really reluctant to explain anything about it until Sheridan practically twists what little she will say out. And the way she puts it is the Vorlons want to make sure she's making the right decisions for the right reasons.
And basically that paraphrases what the entire episode is about as far as the Inquisitor and Delenn are concerned.
But it's the how we get there. This particular episode, at least, is not about the destination. It's about the journey.
Absolutely. I absolutely agree. It just reaches out and grabs you by the eyeballs.
Right. Right. And we get some odd cuts between that. And, you know, I'm really glad they did this side story with Jakar the way they do, which is what we cut to next. Because otherwise the intensity would just be too much. Watching this episode as it is wears you out, even with the Jakar story.
You need a chance to breathe every now and then.
And we get our chance now because Jakar is busy setting up a gun running operation with the earlier mentioned Mr. Chase. And
yes,
prices aren't cheap.
And Jakar is buying back the very weapons that they sold to Earth to fight the Minbari.
Yeah.
And the price is way higher.
Yeah.
And
it's a seller's market.
Yeah. Being the magnanimous person that Mr. Chase is, I hope you caught the sarcasm there. I'll just knock 10% off the top. But if you don't deal with me today, when I come back tomorrow, it's full price again. Nice guy.
You know, as sympathetic as I am in a lot of ways, this just continues that recurrent theme about the Narn getting back what they've given for so long.
I don't know. Maybe I'm just a pushover, but I don't think two wrongs make a right.
I don't disagree. I completely agree. But I'm looking at it from the storytelling, and the truth is, we will see the crucible of fire that the Narn go through. Not just Jakar, but the entire Narn people.
Yeah.
So there's a lot of growth both in the character and in the race.
Yeah. And when Mr. Chase makes to leave, Jakar makes it very clear that if everything isn't as it is supposed to be, the consequences are going to be somewhat harsh.
Yeah, I don't think Mr. Chase is going to cheat.
Mr. Chase, you see that big gulp he took? I mean, he knew that this better be up on the up and up.
Yeah, I actually don't think he was going to cheat them anyway. But bear in mind, you're dealing with a black market, and Mr. Chase is not the only person in the food chain.
No, and not only that, it isn't just Jakar's money or even the Narn government's money that is at stake here.
Right. It's the individual Narn families that are suffering, that are giving up everything for this. So I think Jakar's threat is fair. Tap, click.
Yeah. Right after the Vorlon transport arrives, which everybody seemed to think it was actually Kosh's ship returning because nobody knew that he
or that the Inquisitor would be a Vorlon.
Or, well, he's not a Vorlon exactly, but...
No, not at all.
He's a rather dapper fellow.
Dressed quite Victorian.
Indeed.
And for Sheridan, it is hate at first sight.
Or you think maybe there might be a little bit of jealousy thrown in there? A man is coming to call on his girlfriend.
I'm wondering, is it jealousy or just protectiveness?
Well, definitely it's protectiveness. He does not want Delenn hurt.
Yeah, in fact, from the sound of it, he will not tolerate her being hurt.
No.
And in his grilling, the you're not ready for the truth line. All right, do you have Sebastian's monologue?
I do indeed.
On his background, yeah, and folks, you know, this is probably going to be one of our more clip heavy episodes, and it's just because the incredible job that Wayne Alexander does with this role.
Oh yeah.
But you want the background on Sebastian? Let it roll, sir.
When were you last on Earth?
Long ago. Long ago.
You've been to their home planet, then?
Who?
The Vorlons.
Yes.
You've seen them, what they really look like.
Yes.
Damn it, stand still for a second.
I don't have time.
I want to know...
The truth? You're not ready for the truth. The facts? If that is the only way to get to my work? Yes, the Vorlons have been to Earth. The Vorlons have been everywhere. The Vorlons are. My name is Sebastian. I resided at 14B Heddersford Lane in London in the year of our Lord 1888. I was found by the Vorlons, taken, transported, and brought into their service. They told me everything about everything, and the scales fell from my eyes, and they were open to a universe of majesty and terror that you could never imagine. They call upon me when I am needed, and preserve me when I am not. And they have called upon me now for this interrogation. You will allow me to finish the work that has brought me here, or you will let me leave. Because either way, I have told you all that I intend to.
And you notice he gave Sheridan two choices. He was not asking permission.
No. Yeah, and well,
that
not only that, he slammed the door right away. You've heard everything you're going to hear right now.
Yeah. He's definitely used to calling the shots.
Well, he has a lot of power behind him.
And do you remember when the Centauri were running guns through Babylon 5? I think the episode was "And Now for a Word."
Yes, that is correct.
Yeah. It seems that it seems that the idea of using the station for gun running doesn't sit down very well with the command staff anymore, because Garibaldi confronts Jakar about the gun running.
Yeah. And the proverbial shoe is on the other foot.
Mm-hmm. And tells him to keep the firearms, to keep the weapons off the station.
Exactly.
End of discussion.
He did not tell him that he could not buy the arms, but he did not want them on board the station.
And Jakar agrees without any argument, almost out of character from the old Jakar, but he agrees to respect Garibaldi's wishes, and then Garibaldi starts out with the stick and then uses the carrot.
Yes.
He sets him up a safe path to run the guns.
Yeah. Well, he believes in what Jakar is doing.
Uh-huh.
And he has the means to help. And it's not going to get anybody in trouble.
Right. Right. And as Mike said, Jakar did not disappoint him.
No. Well, Mike gave him a chance to deny everything and but of course, Jakar says you rarely ask a question unless you already know the answer already. Yeah. So.
Yeah. So, good news for Jakar. Now he just has to worry about making it happen. So Sebastian is in Sector Gray 19, kind of a dungeony place.
Oh yeah.
If you don't mind my saying so.
No, it looks very desolate. A lot of gray and strange light patterns and things like that.
Yeah, actually the whole lighting and arrangement of the shape is, and I don't know if I'm the only one who noticed this, but very reminiscent of the Grey Council.
Oh, you're not the only one. I had the same thought as I watched the episode. At least the spotlights on the floor. The lighting on the wall was a little different, though.
The lighting on the wall was a little different, but the dark room, the spotlights on that couldn't have been an accident.
Oh, heck no.
But as far as the testing is concerned, she can stop any time, but if she does, she fails.
Yeah, he gave her a pair of manacles. She needed to put those on and keep them on, and didn't know at that moment that those were a torture device. And she could take them off any time. They didn't clamp on. They didn't lock on. She just had to hold them on.
Right. And we start off with the Vorlon question. Who are you?
Yeah. Now, he asked that question, and I've seen this episode numerous times, and I still would I'd fail to answer it. I wouldn't know what to say.
Okay. You are going to make me get philosophical.
Oh, no, don't do that.
Who are you? The Vorlon question. In the case of Delenn, first of all, it's just peeling away the Minbari's extremely rigid caste structure. Remember, in a lot of ways, the Minbari define who they are by what they do.
Right.
They define who they are by their family tree.
Well, we do
but
too.
That's not.
We do too. I mean,
to a large degree.
When you introduce yourself to somebody, one of the first questions they ask you is, "What do you do for a living?"
Uh-huh.
Or
here in St. Louis, what high school did you go to?
Right.
It's a uniquely St. Louis question.
Yeah, we're identified by external things, and that's not what Sebastian wanted.
And you just hit the right phrasing here. We're identified by. That defines how we're identified. It doesn't define who we are.
So how would you answer that question, if I'm not getting too personal?
I don't know that you can actually answer that question
I've thought about that
in
for
words.
years.
I don't think it's. I don't think there is an adequate verbal answer. Beyond the Descartian, I am.
Yeah, I think therefore I am. But I don't think Sebastian would have been satisfied with that. As a matter of fact, he may have been infuriated by that.
Actually, I don't know. I think the idea was to get her to strip away all of that crap that she uses around as a shelter, as a shield.
Yeah.
You can understand and you can know who you are. If you've had to face, basically strip it away, look in the mirror, and face yourself as you are, it's certainly possible to do. I don't know that you can really put that in words, though.
I don't
And
think so
that
either.
was, I think that was what he was going after with Delenn.
It would take a great deal of introspective thought.
Not to mention a hell of a lot of torture.
Oh yeah.
Uh,
So what was up? And he starts this "Who are you?" question, and all of a sudden the lights on the walls begin spinning. What's up with the spinning lights?
I think that was just the drama, just dramatic effect.
It sure added to it.
Yeah.
It was as, I don't know. It was just this convoluted situation, and
It added to the confusion that was going on within Delenn.
yeah, and things just were not, they were unfathomable.
And seeing the end, having seen the end of the story, I get the concern in one regard, as far as you can't do what you're being asked to do, or what you believe you're being asked to do, unless you're honest to yourself about who you are.
Ah, yes, to thine own self be true.
And in some ways, more importantly, who you are not.
Hmm.
I mean, she's religious caste. He drills right into her weak spot as far as the mission on being on the mission from God. And like he says, he doesn't believe it.
No, but he said it, she didn't.
But the way her chin lifted, she wasn't denying it.
Well,
there's, and having seen her in the past, she certainly has that. I believe, at least, that belief herself. And
well,
I like the way he phrases it, that she's going to have to risk everything on the premise that if she really is the one that's chosen, the universe isn't going to let her die.
well, see, now there is a bit of a quandary here for me. I don't recall the Minbari identifying a deity.
I'm trying to think. I thought there's some cases where they had made reference, but I think in the greater scheme, they are more in line with what would be theologically called a pantheist.
Yeah.
Meaning the entire universe is aware, the entire universe is deity.
And that was my impression, and I suppose Sebastian pointed that out, because if Delenn cries out, the universe will definitely answer.
Yep, and that goes back to what I was saying. The universe wouldn't let her die. So, yeah. Or to put it the way I've put it in discussing philosophy many times in the past, you're immortal until God decides you're not. Very, very intense bit of drama here, though. And, oh, gosh. Here's something to think about. The Vorlons are supposed to be the good guys?
Yes, they are supposed to be.
Yeah. And
well, obviously,
the question he's asking. Go ahead.
Obviously, I think I know where you're going with this, and I believe the end result of this would be the ends do justify the means.
I think the ends. I'm not. That's not where I was going, but I would say that the end made the means necessary.
Uh-huh. Well, I think that's.
And I'll get further. I'll get into that a little bit further. Just as a small taste of foreshadowing. in a way this kind of reflects the messianic nature of the Delenn Sheridan story.
Ah,
And there's I'm going to save that discussion for a little bit further along.
okay.
No, but where I was going to go with this was, something that the Vorlon question made me think. The Vorlons, the good guys, Gandalf. Who do they have for the representative? Sebastian. Whereas the Saruman, the Shadows, their representative is perky, smiley Mr. Morden. What
Yeah.
a contrast!
Yeah, there you go. Okay.
Oh my gosh!
Yeah,
Had you ever thought of that?
no, I hadn't. But that is an interesting thought. Huh.
Yeah,
Interesting.
yeah. It definitely pushes. It definitely pushes when you think about the contrast between Morden and Sebastian, the Shadows and the Vorlons. This kind of pushes both of them into a gray area. It should make you wonder a little bit more about both.
Well, there again, on both sides, we're talking about the ends justifying the means.
Uh-huh.
So,
Yeah, but we're kind of jumping ahead to about the midpoint of season 4 here, I think.
yeah.
Well, we turn back to the Jakar story, and sorry, folks, we're not getting a break from the drama at this point.
No.
In fact,
It ramps up.
This, speaking of powerful scenes,
Yeah.
Veer does what no other Centauri has done, and he does what Emperor Turan had set out to do,
Hmm.
in that he apologizes. And I said this is going to be a clip heavy. Jim, I know you have this clip ready.
Yep.
Let it roll.
I'm sorry. I wish there was something that I could do, but I tried telling them, but they wouldn't listen. I mean, they never listen. I'm sorry.
Dead, 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 dead. How do you apologize to them?
I can't.
Then I cannot forgive.
Talk about a holy crap moment for Veer.
Yeah.
I mean, you're sitting there watching this, and Veer's getting on a lift tube and turned around, and who is standing there glaring at him?
Mm-hmm.
It was like, oh no, now what? And then the first time I watched it, of course, years ago, Jakar turns around and pulls the dagger, and it's like, no, you can't do that to Veer, for crying out loud.
No, but the power in that scene, this is Veer's Inquisitor moment.
Uh-huh.
So this scene definitely belonged in this episode. I think this is the turning point for Veer.
Oh yeah.
But yeah, that scene is this whole episode is just full of this stuff.
Yeah, it is not a lighthearted episode in any way.
Uh-huh. Back to Delenn's testing. Is it me, or does Sebastian seem to enjoy his job a bit too much?
I thought myself that he seemed more angry and bitter.
Yeah.
What about, I don't know, but he was brutal in his treatment of Delenn, and it seemed like he was getting payback for something.
It certainly does. It certainly does. We'll find out. Well, you've heard from the summary. We'll hit that discussion there. He's the one that the Vorlons chose for a reason. And in the grilling, wanting to know if she ever has any doubt. Did you notice the way Now think about it. Most people who have the kind of fanaticism to follow what the kind of path that she's on are absolutely, totally convinced in their rightness and in their own righteousness.
Oh, yeah.
Or in the, should I say more so? He did not expect her to have the self-doubt as far as her path is concerned, I think.
No, but it was the answer he was looking for.
It was the answer he needed. I'm going to correct that one.
Okay.
It's the answer that he needed. Like you said, he was angry and bitter about something. I don't think he ever wanted to get the correct answer.
Ah.
Because you know that who are you question?
Yeah.
Her doubt, and we're going to see this in the next bit with Delenn and Sebastian. I think her doubt, her own doubts about her righteousness, the righteousness of her cause, is she the one, puts a mirror right back in his face.
Yeah, she does.
Yeah. Anyway, Jakar meeting with the Narn.
Yeah, a whole group of Narns standing there, and one jumps up and starts to challenge him.
Uh-huh. Why?
You know, I don't know. That's what makes me wonder. I wonder what has Jakar done to deserve this doubt.
I mean, he's come through on everything else so far. Maybe it's simply that things have changed with the surrender. He's no longer in the council. Does he still have the influence and the ability to make things happen?
Well, okay. I can see that.
It's not a great excuse, but it's the only thing that I can make up. It might just come down to the fact that people are stupid.
Or as you said earlier, or sort of alluded to, that he no longer holds the power that he held before, and so he needs to reprove himself. I
Yep.
can live with that.
Yeah. In this case, that proving is getting a message through to Narn. And Jakar promises an answer in 24 hours.
Yeah.
Back to Sebastian, as I mentioned about the mirror. You notice his rest chats because of her own self-doubt and being the right answer. He gives her a break.
Yeah.
His break is him sitting there chatting with her.
Yeah. Whole 10 minutes.
Yeah. I'm sorry, the chat is as bad as the interrogation. But it's interesting. She's got some fight still in her, and she tells Sebastian exactly what he is.
Well, you know that Delenn is not going to give up till it's just too late.
Yep.
That's just in her nature.
Yeah. Do you have this one for us?
Yes, I do.
Okay, let's go with it.
You're being a fool.
Then I am a fool. But it's better to be what I am than what you are.
And what am I? Please, tell me.
You are a creature who has received pain and given pain and taken too much joy in its application. You have aspired to dreams and been disappointed because you are not strong enough or worthy enough or right enough. So you lash out at anyone who believes they can make a difference because it reminds you of your own failure. You have to prove they're just as bad, just as flawed as you are. Am I close, Mr. Sebastian?
Bang.
Who are you? I'm Delenn.
And you have a destiny.
Yes.
No. Be a nice man, body. Conform. Be quiet. Admit you are inadequate.
No.
Bang! I can feel your heart, Delenn. I can hold it here in my hand. I can close my fist around it. Do you feel your heart, Delenn? Feel it slowing? Slowing? I can stop it. Another inch. And I will.
Yeah.
Whoa.
That heart.
And she's right too.
Oh yeah, That heart thing is absolutely dark.
Uh-huh.
You mentioned
very much so.
You mentioned Victorian earlier. That was most definitely Victorian.
Mm-hmm.
But, you know,
The fist around the heart.
yeah, and Delenn picked up on the same thing we did, that the man was angry and bitter.
Yeah, yeah. And that's why the Vorlons are using him.
Yeah.
Yeah.
He knows how to get answers.
Mm-hmm. Well, Jakar, we break away from Delenn and Sebastian for just a bit. Jakar goes to get some help from Sheridan. And I guess we're going to see how good those Rangers are, because that's what he pulls.
Yep.
He pulls in the Rangers.
Good choice.
And while this is... Huh?
A good choice. They know how to operate in the shadows.
Yep. While not relinquishing the light.
Mm.
And at this point, Lanier, in the middle of a freak-out, meets Delenn. She sends him away so he doesn't make things worse, but
Yeah.
he runs to Sheridan and asks him to defy Kosh.
You know what? Kosh is a Vorlon. Defiance is futile.
There is actually one human who has proven to defy the Vorlons, and so far that's been Sheridan. And this isn't the first time. No, actually, I take it back. This is the first time. It won't be the last time. So we have Sheridan to the rescue, or not.
Or not, yeah. He tries.
Yeah, because...
but
Uh-huh.
he winds up getting trussed up himself.
Yeah. This is another is it just me question, which means I'm probably stating the obvious, but is it just me, or did it seem like Sebastian had been waiting for him?
Well, it did indeed. And you know what? I wonder if Lanier had stayed around much longer, if it wouldn't have been Lanier that would have wound up as the object to bring out in Delenn what Sebastian wanted.
I don't think so. And it's because of what we're at the wrap end of this. So it's where everything comes together. It wasn't said by Kosh. And of course, a Vorlon never tells you the whole story. I think Sheridan was being tested as much as Delenn in a whole lot of ways.
Yeah, you've got a good point.
As we get further along, you notice when he talks of Sebastian, that is, talks about dying friendless and alone. In a lot of ways, he's looking at Sheridan when he says that.
Yeah.
And that's exactly what Sheridan does twice.
Yes, he does.
No, not exactly alone in the second, the second time. In fact, the second time is almost an ascension.
Yeah.
But
that future dive he takes on Zahadum.
Yeah, that's why I think he was being tested as much as Delenn, even though he wasn't in the room for much of it.
Yeah, good point.
And Delenn's one life for a billion. It's the life that matters. And both were completely willing to die alone, out of the limelight, no glory, just die alone for each other. The Greek word is agape. Which is what Sebastian was looking for in this case. Now, for me, one of the creepiest parts was, after all of this, hearing Sebastian quote Jesus, the line, "No greater love hath a man than to lay down his life for his brother," is right out of the Bible. And hearing that come from him was creepy as all get out. But think about it, though, because Sheridan takes this kind of messianic role. He really does take it to completion.
Well, he does.
Remember, JMS was agnostic, but he was also a seminary student for a very long time. So there's a lot of influence, and he is practically shouting out the idea that that there's a messianic theme here, and that's common through a lot of science fiction, actually.
Especially, it's very common in science fiction, especially when Charlton Heston is involved.
Oh gosh. Yeah. But the whole premise in here does fit the crucifixion story as well. Remember, Jesus died alone and friendless in ignominy.
Mm-hmm.
Now, here's the question, though, and this really gets to why I was saying it was as much testing of Sheridan in a lot of ways. Of Delenn and Sheridan, which one is the savior in the Babylon 5 story?
Oh, I couldn't attribute to one or the other, I mean, there were a lot of people that came together.
You're not taking the bait. I couldn't answer it. I couldn't answer it either. And though actually, I guess in the later part of episode 3, we kind of get an answer from Zathras.
Yeah.
The one that was, the one that is, and the one that will be.
Okay.
I think for throwing out a mind twister question, I think that's about as good of an answer as I can get. I was actually hoping you could give me an answer on that one.
Well, I don't know. We get a great deal of sacrifice of many different things as the series goes on.
Yes.
You know,
and of consequences.
The being part of Earth Force is very, very important to Sheridan and to Susan, and they give it up.
Who are you?
You know, they give it up to pursue their ideals and make sure that things are put back the way they belong.
I'm going to take what you say, and I'm meaning it in exactly the same way that you say it, but I'm going to Vorlonize it a bit. They give it up to be who they are.
Or to fulfill their destinies.
Same thing.
Yeah.
Sebastian finishes with a reminder that they are the right people. Well, heck, I know you've got this one. Play it. I'm not going to try and duplicate such a good quote.
You can go. You've passed. Both of you.
Past what?
How do you know the chosen ones? No greater love hath a man than he lay down his life for his brother. Not for millions, not for glory, not for fame, for one person. In the dark, where no one will ever know or see. I have been in the service of the Vorlons for centuries, looking for you. Diogenes with his lamp, looking for an honest man willing to die for all the wrong reasons. At last, my job is finished. Yours is just beginning. When the darkness comes, know this. You are the right people, in the right place, at the right time.
He seems relieved.
Well, it says that the Vorlons have had him searching for this combination for centuries.
Yeah, and you notice he was using the plural. You are the right people. You are the ones.
Mm-hmm.
So, yeah. And then tap, click.
Yeah.
Tap.
I had to
click.
make sure I got that in the clip.
Yeah. Very well done. Excellent. In our wrap-up, usually things kind of lighten up a bit in the wrap-ups. Well, Sheridan does some checking on the background of Sebastian, and it seems that he's finding some interesting answers here.
Oh, a lot of confirmations, too.
Right. We'll get to that in just a moment. And in the meantime, Jakar and the Rangers have come through, so Jakar's leadership is secure.
Yep.
In fact, doesn't the Narn ask him to forgive his doubts?
Uh-huh. Yeah. So, yep, he is the leader. Citizen Jakar is now securely the leader of the Narn on the station.
And I suspect even more than just on the station, ultimately.
Yeah, Well, let's take it one step at a time.
Oh, no, I'm not necessarily talking about the what happens to him actually in his future, but I mean of the Narn that are off planet, of Narn that aren't under the thumb of the Centauri. By being on Babylon 5, his leadership extends quite a bit beyond just the station.
No, yeah.
Simply because it is the nexus for Narn. It's the one safe haven for the Narn throughout known space.
Yeah, it does seem, and it also seems that there are quite a few more Narn around. So, yeah, that makes a lot of sense.
And to the end, who is Sebastian? You know?
Yeah.
We can sit and we can talk about it, or we can just play it. And this was going to be a bit of a longer clip, but let's just let Sebastian answer it himself.
Thank you. Mr. Sebastian.
I did a little digging based on what you told me. The records confirm you lived on Earth, in London, in the year 1888. The records also indicate that you vanished suddenly, without a trace, on November 11th, 1888. It's a very interesting date, Mr. Sebastian. The morning after the last of a string of murders on the East End.
The city was drowning in decay. Chaos, immorality. A message needed to be sent, etched in blood for all the world to see. A warning. In the pursuit of my holy cause, I did things. Terrible things. Unspeakable things. The world condemned me. But it didn't matter, because I believed I was right and the world was wrong. I believed I was the divine messenger. I believed I was...
Chosen?
I was found by the Vorlons. They showed me the terrible depth of my mistake. My crimes, my presumption. I have done 400 years of penance in their service. A job for which they said I was ideally suited. Now, perhaps, they will finally let me die.
I think that might be wise.
Good luck to you in your holy cause, Captain Sheridan. May your choices have better results than mine. Remembered not as a messenger. Remembered not as a reformer. Not as a prophet. Not as a hero. Not even as Sebastian. Remembered only as Jack.
Chilling.
Yeah. Did you notice the dub over?
The original airing had West
Side, yeah.
Mm-hmm. And Jack the Ripper was, of course, on the east side.
So,
how do you comment on that?
Actually,
Wayne Alexander was just brilliant.
Actually, listening closely to that and the way he talks about how the Vorlons found him and showed him because he believed he was the chosen one to purge London of the debauchery and everything else that was going on.
Uh-huh.
And so who better to determine if someone is making the same mistakes that he made by being so presumptuous to feel that they were the chosen one?
Like the Vorlons said, a task for which he was uniquely suited.
Yeah. Anyway, a very, very dark episode.
But powerful, and boy, it just foreshadows so much of what is coming.
Yeah. And it was very, very un-Babylon 5-like in that there was no humor. None.
No.
Unless you consider the Garibaldi Jakar scene as a lighter moment.
That was the lightest moment in the episode.
Yeah, and it was still serious.
Uh-huh.
Yeah, this episode is all business.
And you know what's they didn't this episode did not put a very big dent in the effects budget. Let's just leave it at that.
Yeah, very true.
We're talking minimal set, not a whole lot of light. It's so much of it was just in that dark room.
Uh-huh. You know, it's funny that some of my favorite shows and things that I have seen are done just that way.
Uh-huh.
I saw a production of Camelot on HBO several years ago.
Oh, yeah.
The sets were not elaborate. It wasn't a huge production.
This was the one at the Met?
No. This was a different one. And and it was great. And then there was a Hamlet, a rendering of Hamlet with Kevin Kline as Hamlet. That again, minimalist sets, and you didn't focus on anything except what was going on the screen. And do you remember the remake of Dune that Sci-Fi played?
Yes, I do.
I mean, the sets were not elaborate there. I mean, obviously they were matte paintings, and they were piles of sand in the middle of the floor and things like that.
It was not De Laurentiis's movie.
Yeah, and it was...
It let the power and strength of Herbert's writing shine through.
Yeah, and that's exactly where this episode came from. There wasn't a lot of bells and whistles and tricks of light and mirrors. It was absolutely straight drama.
The sets, everything was a vehicle for the storytelling. If it didn't serve the story, if it didn't serve the actors, it wasn't there.
Right.
And you can only do that when you have outstanding actors. With Babylon 5, that's what you have.
Yeah.
They don't need the eye candy.
No.
And wow, yeah. Probably one of them. There's one other episode I think that is going to, there's a couple other episodes that are going to be in this level of just powerful depth. The one you were talking about in season 5, Passing Through Gethsemane, is one that hits me in the gut as well. But this is really a favorite episode of mine. I'm sitting here thinking, oh gosh, I almost want to go up and rewatch it again.
Oh, we will. Well, is this a wrap then?
Oh gosh, this is almost embarrassing. It's like, what more can you say? What more can you say to this one?
Oh, this is a great episode. That's all there is to it.
That's all there is to it.
If you want to see a really good episode of television in general,
yes,
an outstanding episode of television, generally speaking, this is definitely one of not a whole lot.
This is definitely one of the best pieces of television that you'll find.
Yeah.
And I know some people think Babylon 5 is a little bit dated as far as 2016 television versus 1996 television, but this one holds up. This one holds up the standard. It's part of the reason that this thing is just so darn timeless.
Yeah.
Well, I think I'm going to take your advice and let's call it a wrap.
Yeah. Get ready for Fall of Night.
Yeah, there was no boom today.
No,
clearly
no boom.
But there is absolutely going to be some boom tomorrow.
Always some boom tomorrow.
Always. Good night, everybody.
So long.
Podcast terminated. Thank you for listening to the Babylon Project podcast. You can email Raul and Jim at the Babylon Project podcast at gmail.com. You can find us on Facebook at the Babylon Project Podcast. On the internet, we are at babylonprojectpodcast.wordpress.com. To subscribe to the podcast, you can find us on iTunes, or you can subscribe to the RSS feed on the webpage.